28 years later is a sequel to 28 days later and 28 weeks later, and the original 28 days later was made by Danny Boyle and written by Alex Garland. So both of them returned to direct this sequel, or you can call it a legacy sequel, just given the amount of time that has passed since the first film hit theaters. Now, briefly, my opinions on the first film. I think it's a great zombie film. I think it's one of the best, in fact. I think it has this very human story that it wants to tell, and it also tries to give out commentary as to, even in a post-apocalyptic world where zombies are a bigger threat, it's still us humans that create the big conflicts. I really love that about the film, and I think there's a lot of intellectually stimulating discussions that can be had in regards to that original film. So now 28 years later, I was naturally excited because I think this movie had one of the greatest trailers in recent memories. I loved the way the trailer was cut. It was brilliantly done. And as to the movie, I think this is a very interesting zombie film. Now, it all comes down to what you expect from the film, and I can 100% assure you it's going to be a very polarizing watch. Some people are going to go in, they're going to enjoy a bit of the film. The way it starts out, the first 30 to 40 minutes are going to be good, and then is when the actual film sets into motion, or more like what the film wants to communicate sets into motion, and that is where the audiences are going to be divided, and that is completely dependent on what you expect from a film like this. Do you want a zombie film that's filled with gore, action, and gruesome violence? If that's what you want, it's there in parts, but not entirely. But if you want something more, something different, something that hasn't been experienced in this genre before, then I think 28 years later is the perfect watch. It beautifully explores the human characters here and their relationships, and the way it transcends into the third act, which I thought was incredibly poignant and emotionally perfect. I was locked in. I loved the direction that the film went towards the end. It was not a typical direction for a film like this to take. It starts off action heavy, and then as you go, it just becomes more contemplative, philosophical, and just beautiful. I loved the questions that it was asking. I loved the answers that it was giving. I loved the characters, especially that of Ralph Fiennes, who comes in the third act, and I loved his character. I would love to see more of his character in this apparent trilogy that they're making, which I am not sure what to think of, which I'll come back again. But I think in general, it's such a unique experience, especially considering the genre that the film is in. All the performances are great here, especially the child performance. I believe his name is Alfie. He was terrific. He was just genuinely great. I loved the amount of range this kid brought into the role. He was great. Aaron Taylor-Johnson's great. Ralph Fiennes is great. Jodie Comer is great. All of the acting performances are just great. And this is where the issue is. I think there are some moments in the second act which feel like it just drags on for a bit too much, and it could have gotten to the point a bit more earlier. I also think it sets up a certain plot line in a certain way, and then when it actually happens later on, you feel like you've been cheated of some a certain level of intrigue, because it sets up certain things in a way that piques your interest, and then later when they're revealed, they feel very normal. Now maybe that's the film's way of misdirecting the audience, but I personally felt like the intrigue was lost in translation. And also, I think 28 years later has one of the absolute worst final scenes I have seen in a long time. I have no idea what that was. I mean, the film ends beautifully. I think there is a beautiful closure to the story, and then there is one scene. I have no idea where they're setting up the next film, and it's probably they're setting up the next film, but man, talk about a tonal shift. I have no idea what I saw. I cannot process what I've just seen. It's something comparable to Power Rangers. I don't know. Power Rangers. What am I watched a film about a post-apocalyptic film has a lot of human drama, that's about zombies, and then your tone is Power Rangers? I don't understand the final scene, honestly. I'm baffled. I have no understanding of what they were trying to do. If that is the tone of the sequel, I'm not interested. I want more of this philosophy. I want more of humans interacting. I want more of the conflict between them. I don't want that weird angle they bring in towards the end. It's not that it destroys the film, I don't think so, because I think the closure is here. I think all of it is here, and I think it's all really nice. I really enjoyed a lot of what it was doing, and all of the different things that it does. It's definitely bold. It's a very risky film in the sense that audiences come to expect a certain kind of a film. Now when you look at 28 Days Later, right, I think in that film, the film starts off very slow, starts off with all of this introspective nature, and slightly goes into a kind of a road trip film. Talks about family, talks about you know finding a connection in the post-apocalyptic world, and then in the end it turns into this really propulsive zombie, slightly action kind of a thing that you expect. It's all there in 28 Years Later, but it all happens in the first act. It doesn't end there, so you don't really process a high moment. But for me, it was a high moment because emotionally it worked. Emotionally, it was a very beautiful closure, and personally it did work. I think it's all about what you expect from the film. It's all about what you like a film to give you. If you like the comfort of the familiarity of a genre, you're not going to like the film. But if you're okay and you're open to exploring other things that you can do in a genre, then you're going to really like it, like I did. I genuinely enjoyed a lot of the bold swings that the film took. It is also very tense and gruesome in places that I genuinely liked. Especially the first act was very, very, very tense and thrilling. There are some moments that almost scared me, which is just, I mean, it's been a long time since I've been scared in a zombie film, let me just say that. So yeah, overall I liked it. The ending really just I don't understand what the final scene was, but before that, up until to that point, if you're wanting to experience something unique in the genre, you should definitely watch it. It's a really good watch. In the least it promises to be an interesting watch. So I think for those reasons you should definitely check out 28 Years Later. It is a really good zombie film. I wouldn't say it's as good as the 28 Days Later, because for me that film is just so special considering it's one of the greatest in the genre, but I still really like this one, and I am interested to see where the sequel takes. Especially if it's trying to continue these themes and the human and the philosophical stuff that this one tries to do, not whatever it did in the I can't get over the final scene. I'm really sorry. I just keep coming back to it. It's really bugging me. But anyways, that's what I thought about 28 Years Later. Let me know your thoughts, because this is turning out to be a very polarizing film. I'd love to know what you guys think about it. That's about it. That's all I wanted to say. I'll see you again.